I'm done with France, but called Jules Verne. Jules Verne wrote a number of novels back in the 18th century. One was From the Earth to the Moon, which inspired a number of young kids, inspired also Walt Disney, who did an attraction based on that. But he also wrote a book called Around the World in 80 Days. So I wanted to take you around the world, and I first started working on a presentation which was Around the World in 80 minutes. But John Hope and Kevin Boucher, who, by the way, has done an amazing job with his team to put together this forum this year, told me it was way too long. So I shortened it into Around the World in 18 minutes. That's what we're going to try to do. But before we get there, I would like to give you a few comments about where a number of people think the world is today. Worse today than it used to be, when in fact the world has never been better. There is a book in the bookstore which, there are quite a few very good books, by the way, but it's from Mr. Steven Pinker. I may want to quote him: maybe the most significant and least appreciated development in the history of our species is happening now. In fact, the world has never been better. When I say that, everybody looks surprised. But if you look at the world today, there are less wars than there have been in centuries. Even in centuries, babies' mortality is the lowest it has ever been. Life expectation is the highest it has ever been. And even poverty is the lowest it has ever been. Doesn't mean that it's at a level which is acceptable. And it doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. But I just wanted to make this statement that we tend to think that the world is in terrible shape when in fact it's not. Now, back to our journey. The world in 2050, around the world in 18 minutes. I will start with, so the 18 minutes are going to be 6 observations, 7 certainties, and 5 uncertainties. So I will start with my 6 observations. First observation: a new world and a new intellect. We are not at the beginning of a new millennium. We are at the threshold of a new civilization. The Gutenberg millennium, which is the one which just ended, was the kingdom of the left side of the brain, one of logic and reason. Our new civilization, our new millennium, the kingdom is the right side of the brain. Paradox, freedom, and intuition. This is a drastic change. The consumer society is moving into an information society. The mass society is moving toward a society of individuals. And the standardized society we had up to recently is moving toward a hybrid society. That's the first big observation. The second one, a world of total transparency. We live in a post-Snowden, post-WikiLeaks world. We would like to believe that is not the case, but the notions of privacy and are in the process of disappearing. Third observations, a world in midstream. The world today is a world of friction between 2 huge forces. On one side, a remarkable central tension. On one side, huge innovation and technological advancement. We have never had so much innovation. And on the other hand, a rapid social change and transformation. And the two in a certain level of friction. 4 observations. A world in compressing time. We live in a high-velocity world. The result primarily of widespread technological innovation. there is a general sense that everything is going faster and faster, and sometimes we try to catch things, but they move faster than we can catch them. Fifth observations, an interdependent world. We talked briefly about it 3 years ago, so I'm not going to elaborate much. But today, you have economic risk, geopolitical risk, societal, and environmental. These are like four. In each of those bubbles, you have sub-bubbles, and all those sub-bubbles are connected to each other in each big bubble and outside in each other big bubble. And the result is a world difficult to understand. Try it. This means that the complexity, interconnectivity, and speed we have engendered in the global landscape transcend our ability to comprehend, model, or manage events. Many limitations constrain our ability to interpret complex issues, particularly as we tend to attribute single causes to interconnected events. And this is literally overwhelming the capabilities of individuals, like all of us, but also politicians, business leaders, and so on, to make well-informed decisions. So we dealt with the observations. Now, 7 certainties. First certainty, which we addressed again 3 years ago, a world more global and a world of growing inequality. Global growth worldwide is the highest that's been in time. It may not be the highest in every country, but if you take a combination of emerging countries with developed ones combined, growth is still very significant. Globalization has taken 2 billion people out of poverty, even if today you still have 3 billion people below poverty level, including 45 million in the US, and in the US, including 9 million people with no income whatsoever. So that's the global world, and also growing inequality. And inequality is not growing country by country, it's growing globally, which is a major issue. Second certainty, traditional economies are challenged. The 2 main pillars, the Western world democracies, robust economic growth with rising living standards in the United States, a credit consumption-led economy on one hand, and the welfare state and income redistribution in Europe, both of them are challenged. As well, by the way, as the Chinese economy, which is an economy built on export-led growth supported by an undervalued currency. So the new challenge is a new world, a Western world with less growth and deflationary forces,